What is going on, guys? Joey here, and today I want to talk about a situation that came up with one of my lifters, but I think it can probably carry over to most of you guys. And I wanted to talk about not changing things and when you need to just like stick in your boots, stand your ground and just let things let things play out and let the body kind of do what it does, which is adapt, right? So I had a lifter that was putting a lot of pressure on themselves for a big competition. I could tell that they really, really, really want to perform well at this competition, and um, we had just come off of there was a trip and then a little bit of an intro, and then we started to ramp things up. And while we introduced this new level of stress, normally I expect some kind of small dip in performance, something that is, pretty normal in the beginning. Um, can happen on the first week, can happen on the second week, but normally when that happens, the lifter will probably feel a little bit of fatigue, but if the weights are light enough, they should be able to progress in weight. And for whatever reason on this particular day, the lifter decided they needed to be a superstar on this day, right? They needed to be stronger than ever, and they needed to just like blast the weight and hit something like near their maximal numbers. Um, I think they had taken the last warm up and it moved really, really well, and then they just did like a little bit of a jump, which truthfully was off program. They shouldn't have done that. But it brought me to this sort of thought process, and that is, whenever you're trying to get things done, or whenever I'm trying to teach the body to sort of react in a way that I want it to react, to get us to where we want to go, I will not necessarily make a sweeping change to the program or completely move things around at the first sign of a small dip in performance. Usually I'll try to keep the whatever signal I'm giving, right? Everything that we're doing is essentially some kind of a signal, right? I try to keep it in there for a little bit, um, to let we gotta see, you gotta give the body a chance to respond, right? If I do 2 weeks of good volume, they start to feel some fatigue, and then we just immediately like pull out after that. Um, we never really gave the body a chance to sort of understand what we're trying to get it to be used to, right? We're trying to get it to um, just be able to handle this workload and inevitably grow stronger from it. Um, Now, there are times when I will absolutely make a change and say, okay, this is happening either not the way that we planned or it's happening a little too quickly. Then I might make some adjustments. Typically, I like to wait. Let's say we get a reading. Let's say we have two lower body days in a week, right? Like a Monday and a Friday. Monday's fine, Friday's fine. Coming the next Monday, starting to feel some kind of fatigue. That's okay. And then coming around to Friday, a little better, not the best, right? And then coming into the next Monday, either a couple things can usually happen. Either one, they're starting to get used to it now, they're actually increasing their weights and they're really, progressing forward, or they feel really terrible, right? And it could be due to many factors. It's not strictly from training. Oftentimes there's like something else going on. But let's say it is from training. Then I say, okay, no problem. Let's see how you do at the end of the week. If the trend continues, then I'm gonna probably wait till that next Monday. And if it's still happening, I'm gonna literally cut it right there and I'm gonna edit everything else. If they actually start to do better, then it's like, okay, it was just a little blip. They got their variables in check, which oftentimes, like, I'm telling you guys right now, the lifters that have their variables in check, that are doing nutrition and doing the things that they need to do, it is like a night and day difference between those that they felt like they were eating enough and they were eating to contentness, but they're actually getting like, 35% less protein than they should. Um, and they just kind of blew that variable off. So I just had a lifter recently take up nutrition, and he has changed. Like it's just a noticeable increase in the amount he can recover from and the output. And I think before, given where this lifter was in their career, they just didn't have enough fuel to really help them. So that can play into those types of things. Another thing when it comes to changing, anything relating to your powerlifting programming or your technique or whatever, is whenever you do make a change, you have to let that sit for a little bit for you to actually like really find out if it's working or not. So for example, if you're going from flats to heels, or you're going from heels to flats, or moving your bench grip, or changing from high bar to low bar position, you have to kind of commit to that for a little bit and see if it works. And like maybe you have like a really solid 8 weeks that you run, and you're making a change. I would stick with those 8 weeks with those changes, if assuming everything's healthy, if you're really trying to figure out if this is optimal for you. And then you can kind of draw your conclusions like after that. If you try something for 2 or 3 weeks, it starts to feel stale, and then you just like quit. You didn't really gain anything from that, and you didn't stick to what you were doing before, so you didn't progress. So you actually didn't get anywhere. You literally just kind of wasted 3 weeks, right? I mean, obviously you went to the gym, you trained, you worked out, and you were like healthy, but you're not actually like moving forward as a powerlifter if you're just like flip-flopping so quickly. Now, you might truly have it in your mind that I will never use this stance, or this is not right for me, or whatever, and that's fine, and you can do that. But you need to figure out like what is the right amount of time for you to commit to something before you know. And if you're switching back and forth, that's how you really, let the competition get ahead of you, because they're probably committing to one thing, and assuming they're doing things right, they're just going to jump ahead of you on that. So that is definitely something to be mindful of. You need to give your body a chance to react to the new changes, and at the end of the day, like that's what we're doing. We're adapting to stress over time, and we're becoming better at that. And then becoming better at that allows us to try more weight, and then that's going to create a, you know, signal or recovery response, and then we're going to have to, deal from that, grow from that, and continue. Um, the personality of the lifter can often play a big role in that. If the lifter is a very like sort of like hypochondriac, or they really just like catastrophize catastrophize everything. They just make everything seem like it's the end of the world, or like they're so it was ingrained in them at a young age that like failure is like the end of the world, and they're never going to be anything in life if they like screw up at this meet, which obviously isn't true. Then yeah, they may take like small trivial things in training and blow them up into really just terrible things that they didn't even need to be, and it ends up like holding them back a ton. And a lot of that has to do with their environment. Sometimes it has to do with the internet. I have a lifter who she squats with a little bit of knee cave, but she is progressing safely. She is adding like a ton of weight to her lifts, and like everything is like generally fine and moving in the right direction. But given her, let's just say, atmosphere, or where she's at, or her community, when she posts, everybody has something to say. There's like, 20 backseat coaches who come out of nowhere. They'll attack the fact that she has to bend over a little bit when she squats. They go after her knees. They go after, every little thing that she's doing. And that really gets her to second guess herself. It really gets her to kind of mess with her mind. But then she remembers who her coach is, and she goes, I'm, with my coach for a reason. I'm going to trust him, and I'm going to be better about not letting these people, mess with my mind. Now, obviously, when people do that, they suck. Kind of is what it is. Um, with like, especially like with girls, like dudes on the internet just feel like they could, like nobody asked, brother, but they just come in and try to tell them how to lift. So it can really make them want to change something, make them want to put in the heels, make them want to bring their stance more narrow when they were doing just fine. Um, adding, they might see something, somebody else doing like a ton of accessories or emphasizing accessories, and they think I need lots of accessories, but they don't know that if you're blasting yourself with accessories, you're never going to get anywhere in your competition lifts, because you're just tanked all the time. And because you're tanking yourself through a non-specific competition movement, it's going to show up in a way that is like sort of deceiving, because you're going to go in and you're going to feel good. You're not going to have like pain or anything, because you're not building up that tightness over doing the comp lifts forever. You're going to go in under your squats and be like, wow, everything feels fine, but my squats are really low today. What's going on? Well, maybe it's because you did 4 sets of 15 on the leg press, or the front squat or something, or not front squat, hack squat or whatever. And now you just don't have the juice to give, to your stuff because you had a great program, everything was moving in the right direction, but you saw somebody else doing something, and then you made a change when you didn't have to. Now, I could go forever on this topic. I just wanted to give you guys a little 10 minutes. Um, but I would just leave you guys with this. If something is working, commit to it, see how far you can go. If you have the time in the off season, you want to try to make some improvements. I'm not opposed to messing with your squat stance or doing things like that, but you have to understand that um, like my lifters that, for example, are going from they have to go nationals, worlds, like Sheffield, or like before we used to have we used to have, yeah, nationals, worlds, Arnold, and it was like all evenly spread apart. You didn't really have a chance to. It was like 4 months, 4 months, 4 months. Like you don't have a chance to fit in those changes. They just commit to one thing because you have to build, right? The competition is getting stronger and stronger all the time. So if you're constantly changing variables all the time, you're just not really putting one foot in front of the other and getting anywhere. So I hope you guys are able to take something away from that, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.